Hi, my name is Ben. I just wanted to welcome you here to Tech Apprentice. I am very happy to have you here. And what I thought I'd do first off here is talk a little bit about Tech Apprentice and then also give you some information on my background so you know who I am. So basically, I started Tech Apprentice to pass on knowledge that I've gained and I continue to gain around various software technologies. We're going to focus primarily on web development here, but we may delve into some other areas such as video editing and photo editing. And my background is that I've worked in information technology or IT for about 20 years, mainly as a software testing lead or project manager. And over the course of those 20 years, I've had the opportunity to train and mentor lots of different people from different backgrounds and even different countries. And I like to think that I have a pretty decent understanding for how people like to learn. And I constantly try to improve on that understanding. And I try to provide the information in a really easy to understand fashion and really think about how somebody's going to really want to apply that information later on. Some things I like to do in my free time. I really enjoy working on home improvement and automotive repair and maintenance projects. I am just fascinated by both those areas. And I actually have another YouTube channel called DIY Apprentice. And we do just that on that channel. We look at topics like automotive repair and maintenance and home improvement, but with a little bit of a twist. We try to approach it from the novice's perspective. So we get into things like what kind of screw to use, what kind of fastener in general to use, what kind of wood to use, looking at torque specs, with the best technique for installing brake pads, for example. So if that's something of interest to you, I'll put links in the description below to all that information if you want to stop by the DIY Apprentice YouTube channel. We also have a website called DIYapprentice.com, and we have the various social media, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. So if that's of interest to you, check out that information below. Tech Apprentice will be set up in a very similar fashion where we'll have a website, thetechapprentice.com. We'll have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and then also, of course, we have the YouTube channel. So that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and jump into the subject matter here, which is actually building a website. Okay, so I thought I'd give you a quick preview of what we're going to be building here. So this is the Hestia theme by Themile. This is what it looks like here. This is the basic template. This is the home page. And we also have a blog page. So at this point, there's really not a whole lot here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take it to look more like this. This is our finishing point here. Got a nice graphic at the top, button there, some other sections on the page. Subscription area, contact section. We have several other pages here also. We're going to add an About Us page. You can see that there. With some down here at the bottom, we'll talk about this much later in the video. We're going to add some social media hooks in here. And we've got a shop page. There's our blog page. And then we also have a cart page. So what we're going to do is actually add some e-commerce functionality to this website. So that gives you a few more options there if you want to build a website that's more focused around e-commerce. So that's what it's going to look like in the end. And so stay tuned, and we're going to go ahead and continue on and start building the website. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started building the website. We've got roughly around 30 topics we're going to be covering today. So we've got a lot of material to get through. So let's go ahead and get going. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover here is my setup, just in case yours may be different. So I'm using a Windows 10 PC. Also, I'm going to be using Google Chrome, which will actually be essential for what we're doing today. So if you don't already have Chrome installed, there'll be a link in the description below to where you can go and download Chrome to your machine. And then lastly, any references to any tools or any sites that I mentioned today will all be in the description below. So check out the description below. It'll be packed with a lot of information that'll be useful for building your website. Okay, so I'm inside WordPress here, which is what we're going to be using to build our website. And if you have not installed WordPress on your hosting service platform, you're going to want to pause this video and go and do that. If you're a Bluehost customer, I actually put together a video on creating a site and installing WordPress for Bluehost. So I'll put a card up somewhere here to where you can go and click on that and watch that video if you have not gotten to this point already. Okay, so the first thing I want to cover is just the WordPress layout here. So I'm going to start over here in the upper left-hand corner. We've got this WordPress icon. And if you hover over that, you'll see there are several options, various areas we can go into to get a little more in-depth about WordPress itself. Up here at the top, we've got our site name, which in this case is Tech Apprentice Demo. And when we hover over that, you can see there's a visit site link that shows up. So at any point as you're building your website, if you want to take a look at it, just kind of look at a preview of how it's laid out, how it currently looks, then that's where you would go. Just click on Visit Site. Next, we'll come down to this Bluehost link. So I am a Bluehost customer. That's why I have this link show up in my menu here. And the only thing I wanted to point out is that if you are a Bluehost customer, there is a Back to Bluehost link there, and that is to go back to your control panel. So once again, I use Bluehost because Bluehost is the #1 recommended service for WordPress. They actually have a team of people in-house that do WordPress development specifically. So if you need a hosting service, if you don't have one already, then I'd highly recommend Bluehost. And I'll put a link in the description below to where you can actually go and sign up for Bluehost and get started. We'll come down here to Jetpack, which is a plugin. So if you're not familiar with that term plugin, it's basically third-party functionality that's developed for WordPress and then it's integrated into WordPress. So that's a Jetpack plugin. I'm not going to actually go into that area, but it's typically installed when you install WordPress. Next, we have Dashboard, and this area here is mostly considered the dashboard. So usually what will show up here is information about any sort of updates that need to happen or any WordPress events or news that'll all show up in this area here. What's currently showing is welcome to WordPress. What kind of site can we help you set up? So we'll go ahead and touch on that and get our WordPress all set up in a second here. But next, if you come down here to updates within Dashboard, you'll see that we have some WordPress updates that are displayed. So you'll see the latest version of WordPress, any plugin updates, and any theme updates. So we'll get into themes a little bit later here. So we'll come down here to posts. So this is where you would store your blog posts and organize them. Then we've got media. So any media files like pictures or video would go there. Pages. So this is where you'd actually set up your WordPress website pages. Any comments that are added to any of your blog posts, you can read those there, review them, or manage them. WordPress Forms, that's another plugin. We'll be talking about that later. Then we've got Appearance. Now we're going to be in the appearance area quite a bit during this video. So that's one area you're going to want to be familiar with. And just remember that if you ever get lost, most likely you're going to want to be in Appearance. We're probably going to spend about 60 to 70% of our time in the appearance area. Down here is plugins. So that's where you would manage your plugins, you do your installations, or view any plugins that are already installed. Users. So all the users of your website, that would be people who can actually administer it. For example, if you're the administrator of your website and maybe you want to add somebody else onto your website so that they can manage the day-to-day activities or review comments or whatever, you can do that there. We've got tools here. I'm not going to go into that menu area. Settings. We're not going to touch on that because we're not going to be in there very much. And then collapse menu. So if you ever wanted to collapse this menu to get a little more real estate, that's how you do it there. Okay, so what I wanted to do now that we've gone through the menu is go back up to the dashboard area. And if you'll recall, we had this question show up. What kind of site can we help you set up? And they give you a couple options of business or personal. And then there's also this link down here for I don't need help. So what this is basically a wizard to help you get started. But since we're going to be using a separate theme, and what a theme is basically a framework or a structure or a template for building your website. And we're going to go ahead and bypass the wizard and just use our own theme. So after I clicked on the I don't need help link, quite a few things showed up in the dashboard area. So I would just definitely peruse this at your leisure and make sure you are staying abreast of the latest things going on with your website and with WordPress in general. Okay, so now we've got those formalities out of the way. What we're going to do is go ahead and install a theme. So we're going to come down here to Appearance and then hover over that and click on Themes. And you'll see here we've got 3 themes installed right now. One of them is currently active, and that's the 2019 theme. What we're going to do is come over here to the Add New Theme box, click on that plus sign. And now you can see we've got several tabs that showed up. We've got Featured, Popular, Latest, Favorites. So Favorites is an area where you can store themes off to the side that you encounter, maybe you want to use later on. You can save those to your favorites. And then Premium is all of our paid themes that are available to us. So what we're going to do is come over here to the Search Themes box, click in there, and then type in Hestia, Hestia. And as we start to type, you can see it started to filter. And we want this last one here that just says Hestia. So we'll click on Install. And it's installing right now. You can see that it says installed. All right, so now we have Hestia installed, and we can go ahead and click on the Activate button here. But what I want to do instead is actually install what's called a child theme. So that's actually pretty good practice when you install a theme, is to create what's called a child theme. And what it is, basically a mirror image of the Hestia theme, but it will isolate us from any changes that are made by ThemeIsle, which is the company that made Hestia. So if you ever want to introduce any sort of custom code on your website, so you become a little more savvy at building websites, by having a child theme, anytime any updates are made to the Hestia theme, those updates won't overwrite our custom code. So I put a link in the description below to where you can download a child theme for Hestia, and that's in the form of a zip file, .zip. And what I would do is just download that to your desktop, and then we'll go ahead and proceed from there. Okay, to upload that child theme so we can use it, let's go ahead and click on the Upload Theme button right here at the top. And you'll see right here, choose File. And just navigate to your child theme zip file, which is right here in my case on my desktop. Just click on it once. You'll see the Hestia child populate in the file name field. And then click on Open. And you'll see Hestia-child.zip populate in this installation field, and then just click on Install Now. That's going to take a minute here to install. And you can see right there it says theme installed successfully. Now at this point we can just go ahead and click on Activate right there. So now we've got Hestia Child installed, and we've also got the Hestia theme installed, and we've got Hestia Child as our active theme. So now we have our theme installed, we can go ahead and start customizing it. So we have a couple different options for reaching the customization area. The first one would be to click on this button right here. It says Customize. Or we can go into the Appearance menu and click on the Customize link there. Now, like I said before, we're going to be in the Appearance area quite a bit, so we might as well go ahead and use this Customize link. So I clicked on that. Give that a second here to load up. And you can see our theme showed up here on the right hand side. Go ahead and scroll through that real quick. You can see there's not really much there at this point. So we're going to be making some changes to make this look a little more presentable. I'm going to come back over here to the left hand side. You can see it says you are customizing Tech Apprentice demo. So definitely make sure you're on the right website. So if you have multiple websites, that you're not making changes inadvertently to the wrong website. And then down here you can see active theme is Hestia Child. And once we come below that, we'll see that there is a recommended plugin, which is Orbit Fox. We'll go ahead and install and activate that in a second. But I wanted to come down here to the View Pro Features area. So we are using the free version of Hestia, and it doesn't have quite a few features that the professional version has. So if you ever feel like you want to upgrade, then you can actually look in here and take a look at what exactly the professional version will offer by upgrading. So before we go into some of these other areas, let's go ahead and install and activate the Orbit Fox plugin. Just click on Install and Activate there. We'll give that a second. It says activating. All right, and you can see that actually went away over here. That notification is now gone, and you can see on the right hand side that our theme has changed a little bit. Got a couple more sections and a little bit different layout now. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll back up to the top here, and we're going to come over here to the left. The first thing we're going to do is set up our home page settings. So click on home page settings, and right in here you'll see that we have a couple different options. We can set it up with our latest post or as a static page. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like as latest post. You can see right there what it'll do. It's more blog centric than it actually is kind of a static website. So if you click on a static page, it'll go back to the look we just had. So that's the look we're going to maintain. So we've got home page down here. We're going to keep it as home. And then our post page we're going to keep as blog. So you can see up here we've got home and blog up here as our two menu items currently. To save any changes you make, you're going to want to click on publish. And that doesn't actually publish your website to the world. It just saves your changes so you don't lose them. So then we'll click on this arrow right here to go back out to the main menu. All right, so now we've got our home page settings done. We're actually going to start chunking through this menu here. The first thing we're going to touch on is site identity. So I'll click on that. And you can see here we've got our first item is our logo. So if you don't already have your own logo, I've put some links in the description below to various resources you can use to create a logo. The first one would be logomaker.com. You can see there's some pretty cool logos that have been designed on that site by various people. Second one would be canva.com. And this site's actually pretty popular. You can use it to create various artworks such as posters, banners, flyers, and a logo, of course. And then the last one would be Fiverr.com, Fiverr.com. And that site is for if you don't want to create the logo yourself, you can have somebody design one for you. And the service there is typically not very expensive to have a logo created. So if you don't have time, or if you don't feel like you have the creativity, then that's an option for creating a logo also. So Fiverr.com. So once again, links will be in the description below to everything that I talk about in this video. So I'm going to come over here and click on select logo. That brings up the select logo window. And there are two tabs up here in the upper left hand corner. We've got upload files and media library. So I'm going to go over here to the media library to see what's in there. Maybe my logo's already in there and you can see that it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to upload files. And then I'll come over here to this area. It says drop files anywhere to upload or select files. So you can actually go ahead and just drop a file there or click on the select files button to upload your file. A couple things to observe here are the maximum upload file size of 64 megabytes. That's very important because you don't want your website to perform slowly because of a file size issue with your images. So definitely stay away from that 64 megabytes limit as much as possible if you can. The second thing is suggested image dimensions for your logo are 150 by 100 pixels. So make sure you observe that because that could affect how your logo displays on your website. So let's go ahead and click on select files. I'm going to select Tech App Logo and then click on open. And you can see our file was uploaded. Right there is a check mark showing for that item. That's because that's a currently selected item. So if you come over here to the select button and you click on select, then that item will be chosen as our logo. So before we select our image, we're going to go ahead and take a look at attachment details on the right hand side over here. And you'll see there's the file name, techapplogo.png, the upload date, May 3rd, 2019. There's the file size, 45 kilobytes. Dimensions, 800 by 300 pixels. And then edit image is our link there. That's if you want to scale the image down or do some sort of cropping to the image. You can do that there in edit image. Last link here is delete permanently. So say you upload an item erroneously, or you decide you don't want to use that item, or you want to clean out your media library, then delete permanently is what you would use. So then we'll drop down to this area. You'll see there's a URL in there that's auto-assigned by WordPress. There is our title, and that came from our file name. So you see Tech App Logo. You can actually change that to whatever you want it to be. And then caption. So whenever you hover over an image, that's the caption that will show up. So I'm just going to put a short little caption in there. Logo. Next is alt text or alternative text. And that's used for if you have any sort of visually impaired visitors to your website that are using screen readers or other technology and they want to understand what your image is about. That's how they get that information. It's also used for SEO or search engine optimization purposes so people can find your website. And what's encouraged to put in that field is a short sentence that contains some meaningful keywords. So I'm just going to put something really simple in here. Tech Apprentice demo website logo. So it's not really a sentence, but I think that's descriptive enough. And then we'll come down here to description. And that's where you want to add a little bit longer sentence possibly, or not include anything. Sometimes I just leave this blank. I don't really think it's all that necessary, honestly. But so that could be more for your own administrative purposes if you want to have some sort of description there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on select. And you can see this crop image screen popped up. We've got a couple choices down here, crop image or skip cropping. Now, if we crop the image, as you can see here, we've got a lot of shading on the left and the right hand side. So that basically means our image will be cut off on the left and the right hand side. And that's not really what I want here. So I'm just going to go ahead and skip cropping. And hopefully our image will show up as we want it to. So you can see here we've got our logo populating this field now, and it's also showing up on the website. And it's pretty small, so we'll make some adjustments to that later on. So now we've added our logo. We'll come down here to site title. I'm just going to leave it as is. You can modify it if you'd like. But Tech Apprentice Demo. And then the tagline, Tech from the Novice's Perspective. I'm going to go ahead and leave that. And then the site icon. So you'll see here there's a lot of text here describing what this is for and how it should look. One thing they mentioned here is that it should be at least 512 by 512 and be a square. So if you're not sure what the site icon is, if you look up here at the top, you'll notice there's a globe up there. And you'll typically see that on websites like Google. They'll have some sort of like a G up here or something of that sort. That's your site icon. So I'm going to go down here to select image. Click on that. And we're brought into this media library area again. So what I want to do is go over here to upload files since I don't see my site icon there. I'm just going to go ahead and click on select files. And there's our site icon right there. So I'll click on that, TA site icon, and then click on open. That uploaded. So same thing as we saw with the other one, the Tech Apprentice logo. We've got all this information on the right hand side. I'm not going to fill that out right now. You can see my dimensions here are 612 by 612, so it's a little bit outside the suggested dimensions, but I think we should be okay here since it is a square. So let's go ahead and select. And it's actually telling me I need to crop the image. So we'll go ahead and click on crop image because I'm pretty satisfied with where they're saying we should crop the image. So I'm going to go ahead and click on crop image. And now our site icon shows up down here and also up here in the tab. So to finish this up, I'm going to go ahead and click on publish so I can save my changes. And then we'll go back to the main menu. All right, so that's pretty exciting. We've got one section down. We're just going to go ahead and move on to the next section, which is appearance settings. So click on appearance settings. And we've got a few areas we can go into here. First one is general settings. And you can see here we've got our page sidebar layout. So if you're not familiar with what a sidebar is, you probably notice, like for example, if I go over here to blog, that on the right hand side we've got this sidebar that has recent posts, recent comments, archives, etc. So it's more high level data as opposed to actual content that you see over here on the left hand side. So I'm going to go back here to home, and we're going to keep our page sidebar layout as a default there without a sidebar. And then we'll come down here to blog sidebar layout. So we were just on the blog page and we saw that our sidebar is on the right hand side. We're just going to go ahead and leave that. Next, we've got enable sharing icons. So those are icons that will appear if you want to share like a blog post with your social media. So those icons will be available to you there. We'll leave that checked. Enable scroll to top. I'm going to check that. And what will happen is if you scroll down this page, as you scroll down, you'll notice over here on the right hand side, we've got this double chevron show up. So if we click on that, that'll take us back to the top of the page. So I'm going to leave that turned on. And then we've got box layout. The layout we're showing here is a box layout. You can see the contents here are kind of sitting on top of the page. So you can choose to turn that on or turn it off. I generally like to have it turned off. So I'm going to turn that off. And so now we've got more of a flat layout there. And then the last one, disable front page sections. We're going to leave that unchecked because we want all of our front page sections visible. So we'll click on publish. And then we'll go back. Click the back arrow. That takes us back to some of the other items in the appearance settings. All right, so let's take a look at typography next, and that's when we're talking about fonts for our website. So we've got headings font family and then body font family. So headings font family, this is an example of a heading font here. And then our body font, this is an example of a body font there. So right now headings font is set as default. We're going to go ahead and click on that drop down and choose Arial, Helvetica, Sans Serif. So you notice that that font changed. And so what this means is that it's going to look for Arial first. If it can't find Arial on the machine, it's going to look for Helvetica next. If it can't find Helvetica, it's going to look for Sans Serif. So whatever the default Sans Serif font would be. And if you're not familiar with what a serif font is versus a sans serif font, here's an example here. You can see on the left hand side, this is a serif font. So you've got these little lines here. And then a sans serif font is without those little lines. It's a much cleaner looking font. And then next we're going to choose our body font family. We're going to set that as Georgia Serif. So you can see that change now. And then for font subsets, we're going to leave that as Latin. Let's go over here to font size. Now, because we are using the free version of Hestia, we don't have the option of setting the font size on the various devices, such as desktop versus mobile versus tablet. We only have the desktop option. So we're going to go ahead and skip this because we want to have our font set at a certain size based on the device we're using. We'll come back over here to font family, just take a last look, and then we're going to click on publish. All right. We'll click on our arrow to go back. So then we'll go into colors next. So I'm going to click on colors here, and we've got a background color and an accent color. So I'm going to click on select color for our background color. And I'm going to change this to FFFFFF, which is white. There's also a white down here if you just want to go ahead and click on that. And then we'll come down here to our accent color and select color. That's going to be a green. So pound 2 EA300. And click on publish. So that saves our changes. And you'll notice right here that the home link is now green. Also here we've got our change in the customizer. That button is now green. And if we scroll down the page some more, we've got our contact us header is green also. So that's where our accent colors come into play. If we click on blog, you'll see that white show up in the background when we change pages. And if we go back, it'll show up again. So let's go ahead and go back now. And next we're going to work on background image. So I'll click on background image. And we're not really going to use a background image on this website. So I'm just going to leave that blank. We are going to change the header background though. So as an example, here's the blog page here. I'll click on blog. and we've got this header up here. So we want to change that to have an image instead of just having a fixed color or a gradient like that. So let's go over here to header background, click on that, and you can see our layout is currently set. We'll come down here to add new image. Once again, we'll go to the media library, confirm that our image is not there. And you can see here suggested image dimensions 2000 by 1150 pixels. So upload files, we're going to select our file. And this is my page header here. I'll select that. Click on open. So that uploaded, it's 165 kilobytes, and the dimensions are not quite our specified dimensions of 2000 by 1150, but we'll make it work here. So let's go ahead and select and crop. And I'm just going to go ahead and let it crop on its own because I don't really care exactly where it chooses the portion of this image. So say, or I can just say skip cropping too and see what happens. So let's say skip cropping. There's our image that showed up there in the background. So that's our new header image we're going to use throughout the website. So I wanted to take a quick pause here and just talk about images and where you can find them. So you're probably wondering where you can find images, especially free images. And one site you can check out is pexels.com, and that's a pretty popular website, pexels.com. And all you do on that website is just put in a search term and it'll bring back images related to that search term. Another website is unsplash.com. Very similar concept there. So I would check out those two websites if you're looking for something for free. Now there's another website that I specifically use, and that's shutterstock.com. Those are not free images though, so you'll have to pay a little bit of money for those. But the reason why I like using that website is because a lot of times the images, there's a lot more variety on that website, and the images are a lot closer to what I want specifically when I'm trying to build a website. So that's why I use Shutterstock when I'm building a website. But check out those other sites that I mentioned, pexels.com and unsplash.com, and see if something will work for you there. So that's our new header image we're going to use throughout the website. And then what we'll do here is go ahead and click on publish. And then we'll go back. Now, because you can see here we're in a different part of this menu here, and that's because that one setting for header is actually in the header options area. So we got thrown down into the header options area instead of being put back in the appearance settings area. So we'll go back into appearance settings. And we're going to go ahead and click on button there next. I'm going to go back to the home page real quick here too. Now we've got a couple settings here. One is padding. So this is our vertical and our horizontal padding. So 15 pixels vertical, 33 pixels horizontal. So what that means is the space between what's contained in this box here, as an example, that's one of our buttons that we're going to be modifying by using these settings over here. So the space here between the top of this text here and the top of this button, and then the space here between the bottom of this text and the bottom edge of this button, is 15 pixels. The 33 pixels is our horizontal padding. So space between the edge of this text here and the edge of this button, and then the beginning of this text and the beginning edge of this button is 33 pixels. So you can change that if you want. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as is at 15 and 33. I think that's a pretty good size. Then we've got border radius. So what that is the radius we have on the edge of our button. So right now it's a 3, so it's a very slight radius. If we make this larger, make that a larger number, you can see the radius of that button is changing. So I'm going to set this at around 22. That looks pretty good. Then we'll just click on publish. And we'll go back. So that pretty much completes the appearance settings area. We're going to go ahead and click on the left arrow here to go back. And now we're back to our main menu here in the customizer. Okay, so now we're going to start to get into more of the nitty-gritty of our content here and start setting up our front page sections, and that's this home page here. So let's go into front page sections. And we've got a number of sections here we can put on our website. We can turn some things on, turn some things off. And so I'm going to turn a few things on and then also turn a few things off. So the first one is big title section. I'm going to leave that turned on. That's this whole area here. Features, I'm going to leave that turned on. And one thing I wanted to point out too, as you click on each one of these areas, so if I click on features, it's going to take me right to that area, and then it'll open that menu for features. So we've got features, we've got about. I'm going to turn that off. And all you do is click on that I, and that basically disables the section. We've got team. I'll leave that turned on. Ribbon, I'm going to leave that turned off. Testimonials, I'll leave that turned on. Clients bar, I'm going to turn that on. Subscribe, we'll turn that on. Blog and contact. So those are all of our sections. We've got one more we'll be adding in a second here, but those are the basic sections we're going to have to start out with. Then we'll just click on Publish to save our changes here. Let's take a look at big title section first. And as I mentioned before, you're going to see a lot of references to the Pro version of Hestia. So if you want to read more about what's included in the big title background for the Pro version, just click on Read More here. I know a couple things that are included are the ability to add what's called a slider. So you've probably seen that on some websites where you have a picture show up and then it'll slide to the left or the right and a second image will replace it, and then maybe it'll slide again and a third image will replace that. So that's a slider. The other thing you can use in your background is video in the Pro version. So just keep that in mind. If you want to upgrade to the Pro version and have some of those additional features, then you can go ahead and do that. Now what we're going to be using here, we've got a couple options. We've got image and we've got parallax. So if you're not familiar with what a parallax is, you've probably seen it on some websites where you have sort of a 3D effect that happens where the background image appears to move a lot slower than the foreground image. So you have two images, one on top of the other. So that's a parallax. Now we're not going to do that here. We're just going to use a standard image. So I'll just choose image. Then we're going to click on change image. That brings up our media library. So I don't see the image that I want to use in the big title background, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Upload Files. Then click Select Files. And I'm going to navigate to the image that I want, which is this one right here, Main. Then click Open. That's going to upload. And there it is. So now that one's selected. We can come over here to Choose Image. And that's going to replace our image we had before. Now this image is a little bit dark right now, so we're going to make some changes to that later, but that's the image we're going to use as our big title background. Okay, then we'll come down here to title, and that's going to affect this title right here. So you can access that title by clicking on the pencil here or just coming over here to this title field. So what I'm going to put in there is Tech from the Novice's Perspective. Now I found that there's a little bit of a quirk in this field, and that is occasionally it will not accept special characters like apostrophes. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go ahead and copy my text here, and then I'll drop it in this field. And you'll notice right here I have ampersand, pound, 39, semicolon, and then an S. So that's apostrophe S. And what this is here is HTML code. So I'll put a link in the description below to HTML code if you need that, if you have some issues with this field. So we've got that changed now. We'll come down here to text. That affects this one here, change in the customizer. We're just going to go ahead and leave that blank. And then for our button text, We're going to change that to learn more. You'll see that change there. And then we can put in a URL. Now I'm just going to use the URL of our techapprenticedemo.com. /blog. I'm also going to put the HTTP out here in front. So that takes care of all of our big title section changes. Let's go ahead and click on Publish. So that saves those changes. Then we'll come over here to Extra. And this is just our layout here. So I'm not going to touch this. It looks fine the way we've got it laid out there with everything pretty much centered. So I'm going to go ahead and accept that. And then go back over here to our front page sections. All right, let's move on to features next. Click on Features there. So that scrolls the page down to the Features section. And the first thing we want to change is the section title. So I'm going to change this to Why Choose Us. Then our section subtitle, I'm going to change that to We Support You in Every Way Possible. Paste that in there. So you can see we've got our Why Choose Us here, and We Support You in Every Way Possible there. Next we have Features Content, and you'll notice that there are 3 features on the screen right now. One is Responsive, the second one's Quality, and then Support. So if we click on this first one, click on the drop down arrow there, you'll see that we've got our FAWE chat. That's the icon here. So we're going to go ahead and change that icon to FA YouTube Play. So all you do is click in the field here. And these are coming from fontawesome.io icons. So just click in here. You'll get a selection of icons. We're going to go ahead and scroll down here. There's our YouTube Play button right there. Select that. You'll notice this changes right away. So that's a pretty cool feature of this whole Hestia theme that I like, is the changes are visible on the fly. We're going to come down here to color. I'm going to make this a little more red. So let's go ahead and I'm going to choose my color here. Let's go over here, select color. I'm going to drop my color in here. So that's a little bit deeper red there. You'll see that change also. And then our title, we're going to change that to videos. And then down here in the text area, we're going to change that go ahead and drop this in here. Highly detailed product video tutorials. So very simple text there. So that takes care of our first feature. Now you can also put a link in this area too if you want. It's probably not a bad idea. If you've got some sort of a, maybe some other areas you can have people go and look at your videos if they want to get to your videos, if you have product videos, for example. So I'm going to change this to youtube.com. Go ahead and drop this in there. youtube.com. And at this point, it's probably not a bad idea to go ahead and publish this too, just so you don't lose your changes. So we'll click on Publish. All right. And we can do the same thing to our next feature. We can make an update there. I'm just going to pretty much leave this as is. I might make a couple changes here. Let's take a look. Collapse this here too. So our second feature here is FA check. That's for quality. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that. The color right now, yeah, I'll just leave the color as is. I just wanted to do one example so you have an idea of how this works. And then that's pretty much it here. You can also delete these fields. So if you want to have, say, maybe uh, 2 of these features on the screen or 4, you can delete them, you can add them, whatever you want to do here. That's what this add new feature button is down here, so you can add a new feature. So that's about it. That's about all I'm going to do in this area. So what I'm going to do now, since we've already published, I'll just go ahead and click the left arrow to go back out. So one thing I want to drop in here below the features section is a product section. And that's so you can actually sell things on your website. So right down here, you'll see there's a reference to a plugin called Woocommerce. So let's go ahead and install and activate that. Go ahead and let that run. Give that a second here. All right, so now you'll see this new section called Shop. And for section title, if we come down here, so I'm going to scroll down to our section right there. That's our product section. Section title, I'm just going to leave it as products. And then for section subtitle, I'm going to change that. We've got some text here I'm just going to drop in there. And we're going to call that check out some of our awesome products. You'll see that text also changed here. You can display a number of products in this area. I'm going to leave that at 4 right now. And then all we're going to do is just click on Publish to save that. All right, so let's click our back arrow and you'll see this shop section now appears right below About. Okay, so let's move on to Team. I'm just going to click on that. That's going to scroll our page up. I'm going to change the section title here. Make that Our Awesome Team. Just going to go ahead and drop this text in. Our Awesome Team. Section subtitle. Drop this text in here. Meet the awesome team behind the products we sell. And then we have this team content area. So you'll notice right now we have 4 team members showing up in this area. And they've got, like, for example, their name. This is the title. This is some description about that person. And then some social media links right below that. So I'm just going to change one of these team members' content. I'm just going to come over here and click on the drop down, just like what we did in that other section. That was the features section we updated. It's very similar in this area. So the first thing I'm going to change is image. So I'm going to go here to upload image. That brings us to our media library. And I'm going to go over here to upload files. Select files. I'm just going to choose this image here. That's a Tech Apprentice cartoon. That's my image there that I had made up. Click on Open. That's going to take a second here. All right. Then we'll click on Insert into Post right down here on the right-hand corner. And there we go. All right, then we come down to title. I'm just going to leave that the same. Subtitle, leave that the same. And then we'll just change some text here. And I'm just going to put this in here. Legend in my own mind. Click down this area. So I'm going to put a link in here to my YouTube channel. Click on that. Drop it in here. There we go. And then social icons. I'm not going to really change this much at all. I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as is, actually. But you can change that to be more specific. But there you go. That's pretty much it. You can actually remove some of these icons. As you see right there, there's a remove icon link under each one of these icons. You do have to have at least one, I believe, but you can remove the rest of these here and just have just the one. So let's click on Publish to save that. Okay, Okay, so we've got one done, and I'm just going to leave the rest of these and then we'll move on to the next section. All right, so I'm going to click on the back arrow here, and that'll take us back to our front page sections menu. So we're halfway done. Let's keep on going here. Let's go ahead and go to testimonials. Click on that. So in this section, basically, you can put in testimonials that maybe you've received from people who are patrons of your business or whatever. Maybe somebody who can validate your skill in a certain area. That's what this section is for here. So I'm going to go ahead and change the section title just slightly there. Go ahead and drop this in. What our clients say. And then subtitle. Go ahead and change that. I'll drop this in here. Some great testimonials from our client partners. And then I'm just going to change the testimonials contents area. I'm just going to change just the first item here. So I'm going to choose an image. I'm just going to use myself again. It's pretty simple. I already have that image up in the media library. So I'll just click on that and then click insert into post. And there we go. Then once we're done with that, we can just go ahead and click on save. You can put a link in here if you want to. I'm not going to get too crazy with filling this out because I think we've already seen that in the features section. It's basically the same concept. So just click on publish. All right, and then click the back arrow, and that'll take us back out to our front page sections menu. Let's go ahead and move on to clients bar next. So this is a very simple area. There's not much to it. And the process is a lot similar to what we've already done, where we go into the clients bar content and choose, for example, this first one. Just click on that. And you've got an image there and a link. So this area is used for if you have some partnerships maybe or that you want to highlight. And then also maybe some sort of associations, that sort of thing. So the image right now is set. I'm just going to go ahead and change the link here. And then click on publish. And then I'm not going to touch the rest of these. I'm just going to leave them as is. And then we'll click on the back arrow. Takes us back to our front page sections. Okay, subscribe is up next. Click on that. And we've got this general settings area and a Send in Blue plugin. We're going to start with general settings. I'm going to change the image here. Brings up the media library. I don't really see the image that I want, so I'm going to come over here to upload files. Select files, and I'm going to choose this one here, subscribe section. Click on open. Give that a second. All right, let's go ahead and click on choose image. Okay, there's our image now. And then section title, I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as is. And then section subtitle, I'm going to change that. Right now it's pretty generic, so let's go ahead and change that. And drop that in here. Receive the latest news and information before anyone else. All right, let's click on publish to save our changes there. Now we also have the Send in Blue plugin. I'm not actually going to use that in this video, but if you want to go ahead and if you maybe some sort of a plugin so you can save off your emails that you gather, you can use a plugin like Send in Blue, but we're not going to do that in this video here. So let's go ahead and click the back arrow. And we're back to our front page sections again, and we're going to move on to blog next. All right, so let's click on blog. Screen scrolls up to our blog section. Now, what this is basically is snippets of your blog. So you've got this blog page over here, and we've got this section here so we can kind of give people a little bit of a preview of what they can see in your blog. So I'm going to change this here to latest news so we're not redundant here. All right. And then I'm going to change the subtitle. Go ahead and put in our subtitle here. check out our recent blog posts. And then the number of items I'm going to leave as 3. And click on Publish. Okay, and then click our back arrow, and we're back to our front page sections again. All right, so we're down to the last section, which is Contact. Go ahead and click on Contact here. And our general settings, we're going to change the background image. So change image. And I don't see the image that I want here, so I'm going to go to Upload Files again. Select our files and click on Contact Info. I'm going to use that image. Click Open. Let that upload. That was pretty quick. And then click on Choose Image. So now we've got an image in our background there. And we're going to change section title. Actually, I'm just going to go ahead and leave section title as is. I think that's okay. Get in touch. And then section subtitle. Once again, that's pretty generic as it stands. So I'm going to go ahead and change that. Drop this in there. We're here to serve you. And then our form title, which is this title right here, Contact Us. I'm just going to go ahead and leave that as is. Let's click on Publish. All right. So then we have this Contact Content section. If you click on that, we've got this short code area. We're going to leave that for now. We'll change that later. And then Contact Content. Click on Edit. And you can see down here, this is our basically what we were seeing up here with the find us at the office, give us a ring. I'm just going to do a real simple change here and just change Michael Jordan to Michael Jackson. Okay. And we'll click on the X over here. You'll see that's Michael Jackson now. Right down over here. Then we'll click on Publish to save our changes. Okay, so we'll come back out. And we're pretty much all done with the front page sections. And we're just going to make some finer modifications to really customize this website and have a little bit different look and feel than what it currently looks like right now. Okay, so now we've completed our front page sections. Preliminarily, we're going to go ahead and move on to the header options. And the first thing we want to tackle is the very top bar. Let's click on that. And let's go ahead and enable that section first of all by removing this check mark here. So now we have a top bar. See here, very top bar menu. We're not going to actually set a menu in that top bar, so we're going to leave that alone and click on Publish to save our change. Then we'll click our back arrow. Let's go down here to navigation. That's our next item. And the first thing we want to do is set our search up in the menu. So let's click on that to enable that. And what you'll notice here is we have now this icon for searching. So if someone comes to your website and say they want to look at content related to a specific topic, they can actually do that by clicking on that icon there and then putting in a search term. So let's go ahead and move on to now layout. So we've got 3 different layouts. The default is to have this logo on the left hand side and then have our menu on the right hand side at the top. Let's take a look at a couple of these other ones here. Let's click on the second one. So you can see your logos at the top, and then you've got your menu centered right below that. And then the next one, we've got our logo on the left hand side, our menu on the left hand side, and then we've got the sidebar up here. So we're going to go ahead and go back to the first one. That's the one we're going to use today. And click on Publish. That saves our change. Then we're going to click the back arrow. And header settings, we've already set this up previously, so we're not going to touch that. And we're just going to go ahead and go back out. Okay, next we get into blog settings. Now this is going to require a couple examples to really get through this and to understand what this is all doing here. So before I go in there, what we're going to do is go over here to our blog page. All right, here's our blog page. And I've added a couple of examples here. So we've got this one, football, and it's categorized in sports. And you can see there, that's the text of that blog post, football is fun. Then this one here that comes with WordPress when you install it. That's the Hello World blog post. So this one right now is in the uncategorized category. And you can see the text right there. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to go back to our WordPress dashboard and add another blog post. And this will all make sense as we go along here as to why I'm doing this. So let's go ahead and go back out to our WordPress dashboard. I'm going to click on the X up here to close out our customizer. And right here, we're in the WordPress dashboard. And what we want to do here is we want to go over here to posts, which is right there. So when you click on posts, it basically defaults to all posts, which is one of the items in the post hierarchy here. So we've got all posts displaying. You can see right here our Hello World post and then our football post. And they've got their categories. So this is a higher level view of each one of these posts. So if we go in here to football as an example and click on edit, you can see our football post there. It says football is fun. We've got our header up here. You can't really see it because it's, I think it's in white. So that's football. That's our title for our post. And if you come over here to the right-hand side, this is where we get into sort of the nitty-gritty of really determining some of the high-level information about our post. So as an example right now, the visibility is public, meaning that this has been published. Again, our website is not live, so that's public in the sense that it is not in draft status and that it's ready to go. So if you were to make this website live, this post would actually show up for people to view. You see the published date there. Stick to the top of the blog. We're going to leave that alone. And let's see here, permalink. So you can add a URL. You can see right on the end here, we've got our URL, what they call the slug. So this is a preview of what that would look like. So we've got football as our slug here. That's the item on the end. And if you want to learn more about permalinks, I have the information right there. Just click on that and I'll give you some more information about permalinks. And we come down here to categories. We got our categories of sports and uncategorized. You can add a new category here if you'd like, if neither one of these categories fits your post. Come down here. This is called tags. Now, in this area, it's a little bit different from categories. Categories is each of your posts has to have a category, whether it be uncategorized or some other category that you create. Whereas your post does not have to have a tag. So a tag is, for example, maybe you have a category of SUV, sedan, and sports car. And within those categories, maybe you want to have some sort of a tag like fun to drive, so that if people are searching out there, they can find fun to drive and be able to look at those posts related to fun to drive. So that's something you can play around with. It's not really necessary to include a tag in every single one of your posts, but that is an optional item there. Come down here to featured image. So as you saw when we looked at our post, we had an image. So that's where you would put your featured image. And we'll come down here. Next is excerpt. So you can write your own excerpt, or what we'll see later on is you can actually use part of your post as an excerpt. This is discussion, allow comments, allow pingbacks and trackbacks. We're not going to talk about this today, but that's a little more in-depth than we want to go today. And then post settings, you can see on the right-hand side, we've got this one selected. We've got our sidebar on the right-hand side for our posts. And then components down here, disable navigation, disable footer. We're just going to leave those alone. We want the navigation and the footer to display on our posts when we view them. So we're going to leave that alone there. And So if we come over here right now, we're going to go ahead and go back over here to posts. Let's go ahead and add a new one actually. Click on add new. It's going to take a second to load up. All right, so we can add our title up here. And all you have to do is really just click in this field to start typing. So this one's going to be called He's the Father. Okay, so the post title is always white. You can use some CSS or do something else possibly to change it, but for now we're just going to leave it as white. In order to be able to see this though, I just had to double click in there so I could see the whole thing. It's highlighted. And then you can see right there, He's the Father. So we'll come down here to our next block and we're going to add in here some text. This noted warrior just found out this guy is his father. Okay. So that block is done there. Now you can make some changes to this block. This is called a paragraph block. If you click on this plus sign here, you can see all the available blocks there. There's paragraph, image, heading. There's a list block, gallery, quote, audio. Quite a few types of information you can include in your post. So I'm going to come here. The font size, I'm not going to do anything with this, but if you look over on the right hand side, you'll notice that we can change the font size. We can make this drop cap. So if I click on that, you'll see the first letter is made really large. I'm going to put that back to where it was. Color settings, so we can change the text color or even the background of in that area. So text, I'm just going to leave it as is. And then we've got this advanced down here if you want to add some CSS. So that looks good. I'm going to go back over here to document. And I'm going to come down here to, let's see here, let's add another category. So I'm going to add a category and I'm going to call this, so I'm just going to type sci-fi in this field here. SCI, and we'll just say FI, sci-fi. Okay, parent category. So you can add this as a child of another category. So like sports or uncategorized. I'm just going to leave this as a parent category of its own. And click on add new category. And we see that showed up now in our category section with the check mark for sci-fi. Tags, I'm just going to leave that alone. I'm not going to use that. We set our featured image now. And I'm going to find an image. Go to my desktop here and find my image. There's our image. Let that finish loading. All right. You can see that. Click on select. And our image now loaded into our post. Now what I'm going to do on this post is I'm actually going to write an excerpt in here. You can choose to not write one and have your post contents be part of your excerpt, or you can write your own excerpt. And you'll see in a second why it's important that we do one or the other. So let's go ahead and type in so I'm going to type in here, let's type in Duke Skywalker, Duke Skywalker's father. Okay, so that's our excerpt. Discussion, I'm not going to put anything in there. You can see that allow comments or allow pingbacks and trackbacks. You can do allow comments or you can not allow comments if you want. That's up to you. Again, these two, I'm not going to get into those here. Post settings. We'll just keep our right sidebar like the other posts. And I'm going to leave these other two the same. Click on publish. Actually, you know what? One more thing I want to do is I want to set this as uncategorized too. I want to see how this looks. So publish that. Say publish. Yes, I'm ready to publish it. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and go back to the site. So we'll go ahead and go visit site. And we're going to go over here to blog. Okay, so now we've got he's a father as our first post. We've got football as our second post, and hello world as our third post. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back to our customizer. Remember, this is a second way we can get to our customizer. So click on customize. That puts us back inside of our Hestia customizer. And we're going to come over here to blog settings. Now this is going to get a little bit complicated, so you're going to really have to pay attention to what I'm going to explain here and maybe even take some notes. So let's go ahead and get into blog settings. I'm going to click on that. All right, so we've got this first section in our blog settings called featured posts. So you can see right now the categories says disable section. So what that means is if we go ahead and click on that drop down and we click on, say for example, sci-fi, you'll see the page change, and our sci-fi posts are now our featured posts, which happens to be just one sci-fi post here. As you can see, that stands out on the page as our featured post. Or you can just disable this section or choose another category. If we choose uncategorized as an example, then we've got, let's see here, we've got several posts that are uncategorized. So those are all featured posts on this page because they're all uncategorized. But as you're seeing here, sci-fi is the only one that's displaying. We'll get into that in a second. So let's go ahead and disable that section. I think it looks a little bit crowded. Disable that section. So you can set that up however you want to. Next, we come down here to blog layout, and we've got where we have this alternating kind of picture thing going on here, where we can put your picture on the left-hand side for your first post, the right-hand side for your second post, and then so on. And then the other option is just to have your pictures on the left-hand side. And then you can see there's also a professional version option too that we can't choose. So let's go ahead and click on the left one, have it alternate. So that looks decent. And next we'll come down to display blog categories. So you'll notice on each one of the posts, the first category is the one that's displaying, which is in this case is sci-fi. So if you click on that drop down, we've got don't display any categories. So if we click on none, you'll see no category for your post. Again, first shows just the first category, and then this last one, all. You'll see every single category that's been assigned to your post. So this one has sci-fi and uncategorized, this one has sports and uncategorized, and then the last one has uncategorized only. So let's go ahead and just choose first. All right. Okay, so this is where things might get a little bit tricky. I'll try to explain this as best I can. So next we're down to blog post content, and you'll see excerpt there. So you saw on our sci-fi post, the one that says he's the father, that we put Duke Skywalker's father in that excerpt field. So what will happen is if you put something in the excerpt field, that's what WordPress is going to use as your excerpt for your blog post. Otherwise, it's just going to pick part of your blog post text to use as the excerpt. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change this to content now. And you'll notice this up here changed now to this noted warrior just found out this guy is his father. So it took the content and replaced that excerpt that we had in there. Since our content was acting as both our excerpt and our content, that's what displays for football and hello world. It didn't really change at all. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of an if-else kind of thing if you're familiar with programming. So let's go down here. The next one we're going to choose excerpt again. All right, so went back to Duke Skywalker's father as our excerpt. And then if you change the length down here, say you want to shorten this down to a point where maybe this excerpt is really long. So maybe we make that 2 words instead of 40 words. So let's change that to 2. And you'll notice football is fun is no longer football is fun. It's football is. And you've got a read more button there. Or a read more link, I should say. Whereas Duke Skywalker's father didn't change at all. It's still three words long. So that's one major difference between using an excerpt that's entered manually and one that's taken from content. One other thing I wanted to add in here real quick is we're going to go ahead and change our setting for the number of posts we want to display on the blog post page. So let's go over here to settings, come down to reading, and you can see this field right here, blog pages show at most. I'm going to change this to 2, and you'll see why in a second here. Then click on Save Changes. Okay. Okay, so the last item to adjust here is our post pagination. We've got a couple options of number and infinite scroll. So as you saw earlier, we set our number of posts per page to 2. So if we click on number, we have now 2 pages because we only have 2 posts on our first page. And if you click on that 2, we've got our 3rd post on the 2nd page. So let's go ahead and go back. There's our first page. Let's go ahead and click on infinite scroll now. And you'll see now that we have 3 posts. So one of the quirky things about this is that if you set your number of posts per page really low, like in our case we have 2, then what it'll do is it'll put this last post picture on the right hand side. So that's kind of strange, but that's the way it works apparently. So if we were to go back out and set the number of posts per page to 10, then we would see this picture on the left hand side for the Hello World post. So what I would do is set this as number as opposed to infinite scroll, just so it'll be easier for your pages to load on your website. And I'd probably go with about 10 posts per page. That should be adequate. Let's click on Publish. Save our changes. All right, click on our left arrow here. So that was blog settings. That was quite a bit to get through that to understand what those settings are doing, but that's something we really needed to take care of to make sure we have our posts displaying the way we want them on our blog page. Okay, so we just finished up with blog settings. We're going to move on to menus now. Let's go ahead and click on menus. And we've got at the top here, we've got menus, and then you'll see right here, primary menu. Currently set to primary menu. So it's a little bit confusing. Let's take a look at that and see what they're doing here. So you see here we have a menu name of primary menu, and we've got a couple items in there right now, home and blog. And right down below here you'll see there are 3 menu locations. We've got primary menu, footer menu, and very top bar menu. So very top bar menu is this one at the top here. You can see right there, add a menu. Our primary menu is this location over here. And then if we go way to the bottom of the page, we'll see that we have a footer menu right over here. So let's go back up to the top. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to rename this menu to something a little bit different so it's not so confusing. Because what they've done basically is they've named the menu the same name as the location. So I'm going to change this to main menu, so that those 2 names are different now. You'll see right there, current main menu, since that name is now changed. So let's go ahead and click on Publish to save that. All right. So currently the 2 items we have in our menu are home and blog. So what we want to do is add a couple more items. We're going to add About Us, and we're going to add Shop. So to do that, just come over here to Add Items. Click on that. And we're going to add a shop page. Let's go ahead and put in shop, S-H-O-P, and click Add. So what we've done basically is added this page here to our list of pages, right there, shop, and we've also added it to our main menu. And then we'll put in also about us. And click add. So now we've got about us here. And you'll notice the check mark basically means that it's now in our main menu over here. So what I want to do is reorder this also now that I have the items that I want in my main menu. So I've got home, blog, shop, and about us. And if you look over here on the right hand side, it's a little hard to see right now, but we've got home, blog, shop, and then about us. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually reorder this. I'm going to put about us right after home. Just move that up. And what I'm going to do is put shop right above blog. Just move it up like that. And you'll want to be very careful because if you move it too far to the right, you'll see that it becomes a sub item of about us. So we want it to the left here so that it's in the same indentation as the about us, the home, and the shop, or the blog. Go ahead and drop that in there. And you'll see this will reorder on our page here. And so right now, this menu is currently located in primary menu only. We can go ahead and put it in the footer. Let's go ahead and put it in the footer by clicking the check mark there. All right. And then like I said before, the very top bar, we're not going to put a menu in the very top bar. We have this last option, menu options, automatically add new top level pages to this menu. So I'm just going to leave that alone. And then we'll go ahead and click on publish. Save our changes there. Give that a second and a refresh. Okay. So we see home, about us, shop, and blog are saved. Let's go down to the bottom of our page and take a look at our footer. We've got home, about us, shop, and blog. Perfect. Okay, so now we're done with menu, and we'll just go ahead and click on the left arrow to go back out. And we'll go back out again. All right, so we're done with menus. All right, so we've gotten through quite a few of these items on the left-hand side. We're down here to widgets next. We're probably going to take a pause at this point and just take a look at our website as it currently sits, just to make sure that we understand exactly where we stand. So this main title section looks like it's pretty much done in terms of content. We're going to make some style changes though. Same thing with the logo up here and the menu up here. We're going to change that a little bit. We'll come down. Why choose us? We'll make a couple minor adjustments there. Products. We're going to change that a little bit and add some products in there. Then our awesome team. Minor change there possibly. Same thing with what our clients say. And then in this logo area here, we're probably just going to leave that as is. Subscribe to our newsletter. We need to add a subscribe form there. Latest news is going to change a little bit too. And then get in touch. We need to add a form there so people can contact us. So we've got still quite a bit of work to do here, and we'll just go ahead and move on with adding a couple forms next. So let's go ahead and add our subscribe section form and our contact section form. So in order to do that, we're going to have to get out of this customizer. Let's click on the X up here to X out of that. And click on dashboard. All right. So now we're on the dashboard, and right down here we have this plugin called WPForms. There are a lot of different plugins you can use to create forms. This one is pretty much the WordPress standard. So that's the one we're going to use here, but you can use other forms. It depends on how you want your forms to look and feel. We're just going to keep it real simple here though. So to create a new form, just hover over WPForms and then come down here to add new. And that brings up the setup page. So you'll notice on the left-hand side, we've got setup, fields, settings, marketing, and payments. So we're going to start on the setup tab, and our form name, we're going to just call it subscribe section right there. So normally you just type that in. I already had that in my saved basically as one of my older forms, so that's why it popped up with that subscribe section name there. So next you can select a template so you can create your form without having to create one from scratch. So I'm going to choose this one here, newsletter sign up. So create a newsletter sign up form. Click on that. And then they bring up this pop-up about the marketing tab. We're not going to deal with that here. So what that's basically all about is if you want to have people added to like an email list and then send out email blasts and that kind of thing, that's where this comes into play. So we're not going to deal with that in this video. So let's click on close. We're just going to keep this really simple here. All right, so there's our subscribe section form as it currently sits. And all I want to have is just the email field and submit button. So let's go over here. We'll hover over that, the name field, and then we're going to come over here to this delete button or delete icon. Click on delete field. Are you sure you want to delete this field? Say OK. And we're left with the email field and the submit button. And you'll notice here now, because we were finished with the setup, we're now into the fields area. So that's why we're looking at the fields on the form specifically. So just kind of keep an eye on this left tab over here. So as you jump through the setup, you'll notice that you'll be on different tabs. You can add more fields if you like. Again, we're going to keep this very simple. There's a ton of fields you can actually add to this form here. So depending on your purposes, you can build some pretty cool forms. Let's go over here to field options next. And we've got a label of email. So I want to take this label off. Go ahead and take that off. Okay, so we've got that done now. This is a required field. You can leave that required or not required. It's not going to do anything without having some sort of an email anyway, since that's the only field. So I probably would just leave it on. Doesn't really matter, I think. So let's go over here. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention. You can also enable email confirmation. We're going to leave that off. We're going to try to keep this as basic as possible. If you want to play around with this forms and on your own and just figure out a little bit more uses for it, you can do that. But we're going to try to keep this really basic here. So let's go here to advanced options next. And we could change the size of our field. So I'm going to make this a large field. Okay. And our placeholder text. So the placeholder text, that's the text that will appear in this field, kind of prompting the user to put their email address in there. Because otherwise the field will just appear on the page and they probably wouldn't know what to do with it, or they'll just guess at what to do with it. So let's help them out by putting something in here like enter email address. You'll see that populated now. Enter email address. And let's see here. Let's go ahead and save that. Just keep saving our changes as we go along here. Let's go over here to settings next. And we've got a number of items there we can set. We're just going to click on confirmation. And I want to put in a confirmation message of thanks for subscribing. Just go ahead and delete some of that out. Thanks for subscribing. And click on save. So that's saved now. All right. So that's pretty much it. We're not going to go into marketing or payments. This is a little more advanced stuff, so we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep this, again, like I said, very basic. So let's go ahead and we've already saved this. And let's save, just make sure we save it one more time just to make sure. And then we'll click on the X to get out of this form. All right. So you'll see here we've got our subscribe section form listed as our new form. And then if you come over here to the right hand side, we've got this short code we're going to be using later on. So you might want to, at this point, copy this to like a notepad or something else because we're going to use that later. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Copy. I'm going to open Notepad real quick. And I'll just drop that in there. And I'm just going to put this off to the side here so I have it later. All right, so let's move on to our contact section form next. And we're already in the WPForms plugin area. So we're just going to come up here to add new. Click on that. And we're basically going to kind of repeat the same steps we did with our subscribe section form, just with a little bit of a variance here or there. So form name, we're going to put in contact section. Contact section. And we're going to select our template next. I'm going to select this one, simple contact form. Click on that button. And you'll notice that we have several different fields now that are a little bit different from what we had with our subscribe section form. So we've got this name field, email, and then comment or message. So let's go ahead and start with our name field. I'm going to keep this very simple too. I'm not going to ask for a first name and last name. I'm just going to ask for a name. So we can go ahead and click on that field. And you notice once again that we are in the fields area in this fields tab. So you can see there's a label there of name, which is what this is right here, name, right there. We've got our format options. We've got first and last, simple, and then first, middle, and last. So I'm going to make this simple. So that just leaves us with a simple field here, a single field. And we're going to say that's required. Let's see here. Any advanced options we want to set? Nah, I think we'll just go ahead and leave that as is. We've got our label here, so we don't need a placeholder text of any kind. All right. Next, we're going to drop down here to email. So we've got our label of email. We'll leave that. No description required. We're just going to leave that blank. And if you want to see what this is here, you can see if you hover over this what exactly these labels or these fields mean, what their uses are. So we've got next required. That's what this asterisk is for here. We're going to leave enable email confirmation alone. Come down here to advanced options. There's nothing here we want to change, so I'm just going to go ahead and leave that. What I'm going to do real quick too is I'm going to go ahead and save this just in case we have something happen here. You never know what can happen with computers. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. So at this point, all the changes we've made to this point are saved. One other thing I want to do is I also want to add a field here for subject. So we've got name, email, then I want to add a subject field right below email. So to do that, we're going to go back over here to add fields. And I'm just going to choose a text field. I'm just going to choose the single line text here. That one. You see that dropped right in there. Then I'm going to click on it with my left mouse button and I'm going to drag it up. All right, that dropped it in right above the comment or message field. And I'm going to change this field too. So I'm going to click on that one and I'm going to change the label for that. I'm going to change that to subject. And I think I'm going to make that, I don't think that one really needs to be required. So we'll just leave that as is. So no required there. Advanced options, we're going to leave that alone. I'm going to save this again. Next we'll come down to comment or message. So I'll click on that. And I think we're just going to go ahead and leave that as is too. Come down here to advanced options. Nothing I really want to change there. All right. And then the last thing we want to do is submit. So we're on the submit button. And let's see here. I don't think I'm going to change the name of the button or anything. I'm going to leave the rest of these settings alone, and I'm going to change the confirmation message here. I'm just going to set this to thanks for contacting us. We'll take off the rest of this on the end. Or you can just leave it as is. Thanks for contacting us. We will be in touch with you shortly. So I'll just go ahead and leave that as is. And then click on save. So I think we're done with this form, and what we'll do is just go ahead and click on the X to exit. So now we've got our contact section form listed. And then just like with our subscribe section form, we have a short code over here we can use to plug it into our website. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this to my notepad. Just copy that. And I'll drop it on my notepad that I have off to the side here. So that pretty much wraps up the forms we're going to add to our website. And we'll just go ahead and continue on next with our commerce setup. Okay, so next we're going to go into Woocommerce, which is a plugin for selling items on your website. So let's go ahead and go in here to Woocommerce. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually run the setup wizard, which is right here. Make this real simple. So click on Run the Setup Wizard. And it's going to ask you a bunch of questions here. I'm going to go ahead and fill this out. What is your store base? Where is your store based? I'm going to say US. And for our address, we're just going to put in 123 Main Street. Address line 2, we'll skip that. City, we're going to put in San Diego. And our state, California. Right there. Zip code 92025. And then what currency do you accept payments in? We're going to say United States dollar. We'll leave that as is. Types of products you want to sell on your website. We're gonna put this as physical and digital. So we'll leave that as is. You can look at some of the choices here. I guess the other choices are just physical and digital separately. So we'll do both. I will also be selling products or services in person. You can check that if you want. I'm just going to leave it blank. We're going to do all of our transactions online. Help WooCommerce improve with usage tracking. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off right now. Don't have any sort of surprises on us here. So let's go ahead and click on Let's Go. And you notice right here at the top, let me just back up real quick. You'll see store setup, payment, shipping, recommended, activate, and ready. So we're going to be walking through each one of those areas. Now we're on payment. For payment, I've got my Gmail account here. This is for Stripe. Stripe is a payment method, and then there's also PayPal. So you can set those up with your Gmail account. Let's see here. I think you can set these on or off. I'm going to turn these off for my purposes because I've already done this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn these off for now. But let's go ahead and click on continue. You can set those up later if you want. Click on continue. And now we're into shipping. So for shipping, I'm just going to keep this very simple. I'm going to click on free shipping. And I'm just going to make this flat rate or free shipping all the way around. You can change, like I said, these settings to be more specific to how you're going to be charging. Okay, then down here you have your units of measure. We'll use ounces for product weight and in inches for product dimensions. And I'm going to click on continue. All right. So then recommended. So enhance your store with these recommended features, automated taxes. So I'm going to leave that checked. MailChimp. So that is basically an email service, an email kind of like a get response or one of those other mail services for doing automated email blasts or targeted campaigns. So I'm going to turn that off, make that unchecked. And then now there's also an option for Facebook. So I'm going to turn that off for now too. You can choose to turn that on if you want to when you're setting up your website. Again, this is more or less a demo website, so I'm not really building a serious website. Let's go ahead and click on continue. All right. So now we're on the activate area. Continue with Jetpack. I'm going to leave this alone for right now. So let's go ahead and skip this step because we have to go in and do some setup with Jetpack. I'm not going to do that right now. So let's skip this step. And then the last thing we're on is ready. So in our ready area, you can get some tips and tricks for WooCommerce by having your email address in there to sign up, I guess, for their email list. Next, we're going to create some products. Or you can also import products using like a CSV, so a comma separated variables file. Or sorry, comma separated values file, CSV file. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to go ahead and create our own products here. Click on the create product button. All right. So we've got our first product here that we can add. You can see right there in the WooCommerce area, we're on products and add a new product up here. So they give you little hints as you go along filling out each one of these fields here. So I'm going to put in product name. I'm going to call this Light Sword. If I can spell here. Next, they tell you about product description. Let's see here. I'm going to put in 100% genuine light sword. And we'll come down here next to product data. One other thing we might want to do as we go along, just click on Save Draft here just to make sure we're keeping our changes saved here. All right, let's come down here to product data, right down there. So this is just a simple product. You can look at the drop down. You've got group product, external affiliate product, variable product. I'm going to keep it as simple product. So this is really not a tutorial in how to set up WooCommerce. We're just doing this so we have some products to display on our website. So if you want to learn more about WooCommerce, this video is probably not going to give you all the information you're going to need to be able to set up WooCommerce. All right, so in this drop down here, we've got all these different fields. Simple product, we've got our regular price. We're going to put in $5,000. Our sale price, we're going to say $95. Pretty heavily marked down there. And then tax status, taxable. Tax class, we're just going to say standard. So we're basically going to accept the defaults here. And we'll come down here to our short description area. I'll say, I'm just going to go ahead and copy some text that I already have here. Or actually, I'll just type it in. 100% genuine light sword. You can't get anywhere else. Okay. Let's go ahead and save this again, save our draft. All right. So then on the right hand side over here, we've got all these different fields. These are kind of like high level data for your product. So you've got your category. I'm just going to leave that as uncategorized. You can change that or add new categories. It's very similar to what we looked at with our post earlier. Product tags, very similar. And then we're going to pick an image. So set product image, click on that. And my file is not here that I want to use. It's not in the media library. So I'm going to go over here to upload files. Click on select files. And I'm going to go to my desktop here. I'm going to find my image. And I want this one here, light sword. Click on open. All right. So then I'm just going to go ahead and set the product image. Okay. And that is about it. I think we're going to go ahead and publish this now. All right, so we've got our first product done, and we're just going to go ahead and move on to our second product. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. It's pretty much going to be the same steps we just walked through with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and add a second product off camera here. I don't want to bore you with this setup. But you kind of see how WooCommerce works. Again, there's more detail to how to set this up. I just did the really basic setup just so I could get through it, so I could have something, some sort of content on our website. Okay, so I've got the products all set up now. So if you come over here to the left-hand side, you'll see products and then all products. So I've got both my products listed here. I've got floppy disk and light sword. And you can see some of the high-level details of both of those products there. So now we have this all set up. What we're going to do is add a cart page so that we have a shopping cart for our visitors to our website. So to do that, let's go ahead and go into Appearance and then click on Menus. All right. And you'll see right there we have Cart as one of our pages we can select to add to our main menu. So we've got our pages listed on the left-hand side here. We've got our menus on the right-hand side. In this case, we've got our main menu. So we'll just go ahead and click on Cart and say Add to Menu. And that'll be added as our last item here. So then what I want to do also is I want to add a cart icon to this menu item. So let's go ahead and click on the plus sign. And we'll come down here, look for a cart icon. See if we can find one. You can also type in this field, just type cart to filter. There we go, that's better. And I'm just going to go ahead and choose, let's see here. I'll just choose this one here. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and save this menu. Click on Save Menu. Wait for that to update. And it's saved. And that's pretty much it. So we've got our menu all set up with our home, about us, shop, blog, and our cart. So those are the 5 items we're going to go ahead and go with here. All right, so now we've completed our menu setup. We're going to go ahead and go into Appearance and Customize. And what we're going to do here is add our forms to our website. So let's go to Front Page Sections. Then we'll come down here to Subscribe. And the General Settings tab we've already done. We did that earlier. So we're going to come over here to Send in Blue plugin. And we're not going to actually use a Send in Blue plugin. We're going to add our own widget. So if you're not familiar with what a widget is, just kind of imagine what your phone has these little widgets on it, like your calendar widget or like a weather widget. So it's just basically little pieces of functionality that add to your website's ability to display information or just add to its look and feel. So let's go ahead and click on Add a Widget. And what we're going to do is go ahead and scroll down here to the WPForms widget. We'll click on that. All right. So then there's a title field here. We're going to leave that blank because we don't want to have that title displaying here anywhere. And we're going to select our form next. So we've got our 2 forms listed there, subscribe and contact. We're going to click on subscribe section. click apply, and then we'll click on done. Okay, and then let's click on publish to save our change, because that looks like what we want. Click on publish. All right, so there's our form right there for entering the email address for our subscribers. Now we're going to change this up a little bit. We're going to center this, make the button a little more centered. So don't worry about that. It's going to look a little bit different later. So we've got that part done, and we're going to go back now. Go back out. We're going to go to contact next. Okay, so let's go to contact next. Let's click on the contact link there. That moves the form up, and we're down to our contact section. And again, we've done the general settings set up already. Let's go over here to contact content. So we're on contact content, and this is where we would put that short code we had earlier. So I'm going to bring that over on my notepad here, and I've got my contact form there. So it's a little bit different setup from the subscribe section setup. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab this short code, and I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to replace this short code here. I'm going to say paste, and you'll see we have our new form show up there. That looks really good. So now all we have to do is click on publish to save our change. All right, so our form is all set up in the contact section, and we'll just go back out. So now we're done with all of our sections. We're going to go ahead and do additional styling to the website to make it look a little bit nicer. And then we're also going to add some content to some of our other pages. See links in the description below. Comment, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check us out on social media. And thanks for watching.